Welcome back once again, everybody, to a very special Valentine's Day weekend of WCS opening for 2015. It's been a very fun journey throughout the past couple of days. We're on our final match between TLO and Kelazhur. The gloves are off for both these players. They already have an initial feeling of each other, even though they didn't meet prior to today. And finally, one of them will be able to advance in second place. Now, what's going to be? TLO does have a clean record. The games from the previous don't carry over whatsoever. But from this point on, can he recover and bounce back? He looked strong in his previous match, but can he turn around in one of his weakest matchups? We'll find out starting now with, once again, Rotterdam and Nathanius.
Thank you very much, Dan. Indeed, the last match of the day is going to be the same match as the first one of the day. Now, of course, we have a lot of people joining the stream over hours. You know, some people maybe wake up late on Sundays. You and I, we're one of those people.
Someone wakes up, they like show up, they're like, "Oh man, Kelazhur versus TLO." It's like, wow, did they have like a delay? They're just starting. It's like, no, guys.
So I think it's always worth, you know, going over that series a little bit again. The first series of the day, it was really funny because game number 1 started off disastrous for Kelazhur. He lost his Reaper to a Queen, something that shouldn't happen. Then we had a couple of slow SCVs that marched across the map. The first SCVs picked off, or Zerglings. I actually said that in the start of the day as well. That's really funny. The first Zerglings picked off the SCV that was building the command center. And then we had a few more slow links that picked off 2 or 3 additional SCVs. Just not the start you wished for a Terran at all. But he bounced back extremely well with the Hellbat pressure that TLO wasn't ready for. TLO lost a ridiculous amount of drones, and they were like, all right, you know, someone can lose a map like that. We shouldn't look too much into it. He just underreacted against the Hellbats, right? Well, game number 2, it was pretty much all Kelazhur. He showed phenomenal medevac control, just kept dropping left and right. I'd be surprised if we see Catalina and the map pool again, Nate, but I'm sure you can tell me more about that.
Well, oh, I like my Catalina, Kev. What can I say? I'd be really surprised. I guess it comes down to just not wanting to play the other maps. A lot of people like most of these maps. I won't lie. I have like a 74% win rate in TVZ this season. The maps are quite good for this matchup favoring Terran.
But do you know map number 2 and 3?
I don't have actually the maps now.
Okay, sorry for that, guys. Anyways, we do know that the first map is going to be played on Overgrowth, so that's the same as the first time they played against each other. And I'm very curious to see if TLO is going to go for the exact same style as we saw, where he opened up with a bunch of roaches, then eventually tried to get Mutalisk out and stuff. But of course, back then he was doing it off the back of a very weak economy. This time it should go a lot better for him, unless again he would end up losing 25 drones. But that's an unlikely scenario, Nate.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few different ways I expect this series to pan out. Hopefully this guy doesn't take too much damage at the start of these games this time. In the northeast position representing team Try Again, he is Kelazhur. Took the first series against this gentleman in the southwest who had to defeat Jim to come back and fight him. Representing Team Liquid, he is TLO.
Definitely a big series for TLO. TLO had a very interesting journey already making it to Premier League. He tried in every single qualifier, but he didn't make it up to the last chance qualifier, the qualifier where a bunch of Europeans were invited for gathering the most amount of points in all the runs they had, but still didn't manage to qualify. And in that qualifier, TLO did finally go all the way to qualify for Challenger. In Challenger, he took out his teammate Red, like we mentioned earlier today in a cool ZvT series. It's funny as well, because TLO made a really cool tweet after that. He's like, let this be a lesson that nobody can stop me from qualifying 8 times in a row.
Man, he really put him in his place.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Who do these people think they are, Nate? They might stop me 7 times, but nobody stops me 8 times. I giggled at the tweet. I thought it was a great tweet.
Yeah, that was pretty creative, you could say.
I see what you did there.
So, it's going to be a Reaper opening for Kelazhur. Looks about... actually slightly, yeah, but I think you might still be looking to do that. So TLO opens a patch first, nothing really crazy. This map, I still think, and I wasn't surprised when we saw it the first time around, that the Hellbat push is just kind of like the way to go. You have a really short rush distance. When games go long on this map, they generally favor Zerg against Terran because that 4th base is so hard to push. So one of the only maps, especially in the last 2 map pools that this map was still a part of, one of the only maps where you could have your 4th base at the same distance, basically, away from the Terran's 3rd as all of your other bases. You know, maps like Merry-Go-Round, you had to take a 4th closer to the Terran. Maps like Nimbus, your 4th had to be close to the Terran's 4th most of the time, and it was very difficult to defend pushes in the later stages of the game. But Kelazhur, you know, he's shown already he's not willing. He's willing to do some crazy stuff. He's even going to put this bunker down. I guess he's trying to bait some drones to be pulled, or maybe he's in a little cute spot there. That SCV is safe.
Eventually, the SCV will be able to be attacked by these drones. And of course, as soon as the Queen's out, it's frustrating though for TLO because he's losing a few more resources than he was willing to lose. There is a second Reaper on the way as well, which is different than what we saw earlier today. Back then, it was just a single Reaper opening.
Putting on some pressure, and you know, if there's anything that's random in StarCraft II, it's where that SCV goes. So quite difficult for TLO to actually get that worker, and that allows him to set this bunker up, which, you know, forcing out a spine this early for what should eventually be a salvaged bunker anyway. That's actually really, really nice for Kelazhur, since he was seemed like he was going to open 2 Reapers anyway.
Yeah, the idea of sending the Zerglings across the map, I think, is quite cool. TLO once more hoping to pick up that SCV that's building a command center on the other side of the map.
Especially since the bunker delayed it.
Yep. But he left his second Reaper, I thought, in the middle of the map. I think he was looking for the Zerglings, but the Zerglings took a massive detour all the way on the left top side of Overgrowth.
Yeah, I mean, he got the Spine Crawler to finish, and that's in and of itself a pretty big victory, I feel, for Kelazhur, since TLO did open up with speed. So he's basically got speed, which TLO's not really the kind of guy that's shown he wants to go all in with that sort of thing.
You mean like
and a spine, which if he doesn't get attacked in the next minute, doesn't really matter, because Kelazhur is going to go up 3 bases.
Looking in the end of it, you know, of course, TLO could have perhaps cancelled that spine crawl after he realized that this was nothing super crazy, but I don't really mind it. You'd rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah, I think the spine crawler was the correct decision. It's just Kelazhur mostly getting a little bit of luck with the SCV, because you can't predict how it moves around a building structure. And on top of that, of course, being able to get it down fast enough.
Are you surprised by the amount of gas that TLO is mining?
It is a little bit interesting. Unless, you see, TLO is also one of those Zergs that will oftentimes just throw down 2 evolution chambers, in which case I'm not really, I think he'll just go straight for 1-1, but
no, it's
he gets the lair first.
6-minute lair.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you were going to go right for a lair and not on anything else, then you are correct, Kev. He could have just gotten it a little bit earlier, almost a whole minute, yeah, if he's mining on 1 extractor.
Maybe he just want to make sure that he would have proper saturation first in the second base before
squeeze out the drones, then start the lair. Every mineral was much more important for him to get that economy going.
All right, Dario is not 100% sure yet that he's indeed playing against the triple command center opening. He might suspect it by now, but he could also perhaps still be worried about Hellbats. That's definitely something that's still in the back of his mind. Early today, he's like, all right, I didn't react to that properly. I want to make sure that this time I do deal with it in the correct way.
And I think knowing that spine finished is a great reason for Kelazhur not to go Hellbats.
Exactly.
A few Lings will squeeze by for TLO. He's trying to get some scouting. And yeah, he gets one in the main. So he sees this, that he's going for Cloak Banshee, which is actually a fantastic read.
Very surprised.
The Banshee's the one way that you can, well, bypass a Spine Crawler.
But Dario at least knows what he's playing against, so he will most likely go up to 3 bases immediately, right? Like, I don't think you have to worry about not being able to defend it.
Unless he's going to try to kill him with mass roaches and basically say, your 1 Banshee can't actually stop me. Well, he starts an armory, he cancels everything. Canceled everything, Kevin. He finished the Banshee, but he canceled Cloak, and he moved straight over to starting up Stim.
Does he start a Marauder as well, though? That is the most important thing right now, I think, for Kelazhur.
I think Marauder is very important in this bunker that he's also starting up at the front of his wall.
Okay, I like that a lot.
There are a few Lings that want to do a run by, but the wall's not ready yet. 2 more Hellions should finish up, though, so it's like this shouldn't kill him, but this could do a nice bit of damage, especially if he gets those mules.
This time you definitely want to raise the depots, though, in the main. You really don't want to have to worry about Zerglings again
if
running
he
into your main.
scouts that you've, like, switch up, you know, that's pretty weird. Kelazhur knows TLO's just on 2 bases, and he sees roaches, so at this point, if you can't plant that 3rd hatchery as a Terran, you want to be you're generally expecting the Zerg to get aggressive, even though he's going to bring the roaches out to take the 3rd base. Like, he still has a lot of roaches on the map.
I still feel that was, you know, I mean, that was a successful little run by TLO. Don't get me wrong, he got like 4 SCVs with the Zerglings, but TLO's economy is not exactly booming. It's on 41.
And there's 3 orbitals now.
Yeah. He does get hatchery number 3. He gets it in the middle of the map, which is kind of interesting. I think if this Banshee truly wants, with the Hellion support as well, he's going to be able to cancel it.
Should be pretty easy for Kelazhur. Definitely a good way to start this game.
So how much is Kelazhur aware of the fact that he's not just playing against 5 or 6 defensive roaches, but that this is a ridiculous amount?
He saw a good amount of the roaches when he was being pushed away towards the east side.
He needs to start pulling SCVs like right here
and
right now.
In that bunker. His Hellions and Reapers are trying to catch these guys, but yeah, that bunker's getting very low on hit points. A number of SCVs is enough to repair it, but he's going to focus them down behind the bunker. This is his way of recovering that economy that you just mentioned, Kev.
Yeah, but losing that hatchery is extremely painful.
I really like how the Hellions prevented the reinforcements going up there, because if you have 4 or 5 more roaches here, then maybe you're able to burst that down. The SCV losses honestly aren't as big of a deal for the Terran since the Zerg's third is so late because
Yeah.
he can drop 3 mules at a time.
Exactly, he's on triple orbital, so losing 13, 14 SCVs may seem devastating, but it's really not all that devastating for Kelazhur, who's going to be now I should definitely send him back though, no more. 17 is, I mean, that is a reasonable amount of economic damage, but never underestimate the power of 3 orbital commands.
Yeah, Kelazhur is still, he's like reasonably saturated in his main, reasonably in his natural. You won't be able to mine his gas as quick, but he still has his infrastructure set up, and that Spire, well, that's actually a pretty reasonably well-timed Spire, all things considered.
I think the biggest loss for TLO during all this was still that he had to cancel that third base. I think that is truly devastating. If that base would have been up and running by now, I would have really been digging his position, but that the hatchery being so extremely late, that really hurts him.
Yeah, and it makes Kelazhur totally comfortable to not have moved his third out. He's not. You don't have to worry about that usually as a Terran until the Zerg player is starting to saturate the third. So.
Of course, we have information to all the numbers, and Kelazhur does not, so he might actually see this game completely different. Because right now, this Banshee flies in, he sees that the hatchery is done. He doesn't know for how long it's been done. He sees, okay, there are not too many drones, but you still see a fair amount of drones. Like, it's very easy for us to read the state of the game.
I mean, he sees that the creep hasn't fully spreaded around the hatchery, so he knows it did recently finish. So he hasn't been mining on it for a crazy amount of time. The only thing that I do really like for TLO, and it's kind of interesting the way that he's open with this fast Carapace Roach push because it's so good against the Marines, but he has a very fast +2 Carapace coming in.
There are Zerglings in the middle of the map, and okay, they will spot these two Medavacs. For a second I was worried, because if he wouldn't have spotted, that could have been quite ugly. I like that Kelazhur drops it over here. It's been spotted already anyway, so you may as well.
Kills. Not bad at all. And the Banshee's still here, just being annoying in general. Banshees are very good at that.
The baiting nest is pretty damn late, by the way, but we saw earlier today, TLO actually did a really good job in sticking around on just roaches, so I'm not going to say that he's not going to be able to do that this time.
Yeah, Cloakless Banshee has 10 kills. He's going to go around and check the watchtowers again. Now Kelazhur is planning his third base as he starts to push in towards this third of TLO.
Yep. TLO tried to counterattack with a few units. Kelazhur is going to stim forward, gets one roach immediately, but here are the Zerglings, and with these two queens as well, this army is good enough for now to push these stimmed by units back. There were Zerglings being annoying on the other side of the map, but Kelazhur did a very good job in leaving 3-4 Marines behind and 1 Marauder, which was just enough to deal with these links. So it didn't take any additional economic damage. Yeah,
this is a reasonably good setup for Kelazhur. TLO has the upgrade advantage, but you know the Mutalisk kind of hasn't reached any type of numbers or really come out in the force strong enough yet to really swat him back. Kelazhur establishing his third this close to when the Zerg gets his third is a very, very important thing to take note of. And also, TLO's creep spread has not been able to go that far. He hasn't planted the 4th base or gotten creep here. And I said earlier, you know, one of the things Zergs like about this map is keeping that 4th safe, but you need to get it first.
The Muta count is very healthy, though. He already has 9 with 5 more on the way, like 14 Mutalisks, considering the fact how this game has played out. I'm actually surprised that the count is that high.
Yeah, well, he hasn't actually made like any Banelings yet, so I can kind of see where he's able to squeeze it out. Like if there were more, you know, if Kelazhur pushes really soon, he's still Baneling count is still going to be really tricky to work with because he's only building 5 at the moment. But he's counting on these Mutalisks to go in and deal some damage while Kelazhur is out on the map.
Yeah, and there's not
no turrets.
Yeah, it's not a single missile turret in the base yet, so TLO can be very annoying.
And he's supply blocked. There's no Marines even in production. He has no Marines being built right now.
This hurts. This might actually force Kelazhur to make poor life decisions, and that is to step on creep.
Yeah, well, that's the whole. That's like that's the number one goal of the Zerg is say, hey, better counterattack, man. Well, I'm building a bunch of Banelings. These engineering bases are exposed too. He kills a bunch of Medavacs. Till he could kill his factory.
Okay, TLO has to worry a tiny bit at home as well, though. There are 2 Medavacs full of units flying into the main. Don't idle above the Spore Crawler. You need to keep the HP on these Medavacs. There are a few Mutalisks left behind.
See, it's still enough Mutalisks to really do a good job on these Medavacs. Loads Buffalo and Homos picks that one up. And Kelazhur, his production's being camped, man. Not a fun place to be.
Nope, and he's producing Hellbats, which can't shoot up. Would be great if they could.
It's like the only units that finished were the ones that were totally useless in this specific scenario.
TLO still fighting all over the place. He has a couple of Banelings engaging on the army in the left bottom side.
Kelazhur kills the 4th base, though, so that's a really nice, very important pickup because
this game is
as long as he stabilizes, he's still okay. He just needs to get these Mutalisks out of his base.
These Mutalisks have been here for a while.
There's so many Hellbats. Like,
these are the guests that don't leave. It's like, I know I invited you over. You're supposed to leave.
It's like we come out, you hang out for a little bit, have fun. It's like, but at some point, man, you got to go home. And these mutas are doing a crazy amount of damage.
Yeah, Kelazhur just lost 2 Medavacs full of units. That's truly hurts. That's the first thing that really hurts. Other than these mutas for sticking around for way too long. There's just no Marines. How many Marines do we have on the map? We have 10. Where are they?
Weakness of Terran. Another huge flurry of Mutalisks comes in for TLO. And
okay, now it's getting really serious. A couple of Banelings rolling through the natural as well. TLO takes a 30 supply advantage. Where are those 10 Marines that we're looking at? Are they all? I have no idea where they are.
A couple 4 in the bunker.
Sure.
He's got a few that were finished at the barracks and just chilling by the missile turret in the main base. But I don't think he has enough to actually get this off of him anymore. He's still even on SCV, so it's really just about stabilizing and buying time.
Very cute that he's using Contaminate as well on one of these Rexes, but now the SCV is being pulled. Marauder's doing a really good job in dealing with these roaches, but in the end, it is not going to be enough. TLO will win game number 1 on Overgrowth, which was a pretty wild game to say the least.
Yeah, very crazy game to say the least.
The fighting just did not stop there.
Yeah, it didn't really stop at all. And I wanted to make one more mention of, I hadn't seen this too much since actually Revival versus Polt and Neeb in Season 1 finals of WCS America last year, where we had like this really fast +1 carapace opening for the Roaches. And it was like really interesting to see the way that he just was aggressive all game long. And then in Terran versus Zerg, it's nice to move out and be active on the map. Like I said, TLO didn't build a lot of Banelings, but he was relying on these mutas to cut off Marine production, and it worked incredibly well. It just blew my mind that at this point, the production tab shows a bunch of Hellbats and SCVs being made, so Kelazhur was queued up on all his production, which actually caused him to get supply block even faster. Like if he canceled the Hellbats and the SCVs he was building and just queued Marines, I think it would have been even a bit easier to get the units he needed out to defend.
If you just look at the statistics in that point in the game, it's truly anybody's game. It's 61 workers against 65 workers. They're very close in supply. 2-2 is on the way for Kelazhur. Normally the game did not have to end in that phase, but TLO just really not panicking despite a lot of bioforces being on his side of the map. He's like, nope, I'm going to leave these mutas here. They will continue to be annoying. They will continue to pick off reinforcements. Every unit that pop, I'm going to kill it immediately. And it worked out. It was a ballsy decision because it really could have backfired.
Yeah, it's one of those things that can really hurt you a lot if he has a good number of Marines. If he, first of all, the supply block, right? Yeah. He wasn't actually building Marines when the Mutalisks were headed into his base. That's a situation where a supply drop is actually very, very useful to try to recover from that. But also, if the units that he had made after that were rallied into his main anyway, if he just has a couple more Marines, because he didn't have his full Mutalisk force there, some of them went back to the main base to defend against that double drop that you mentioned, then it becomes a completely different game because you don't have a lot of Banelings, and that's when killing that 4th really puts Kelazhur ahead.
Yep, wild game, but TLO in the end not panicking in a facing a game where I think a lot of players would have panicked, but of course he's very experienced. Been to so many tournaments over the years, been around pretty much since the Wings of Liberty beta. He even played in a show match once upon a time against Mad Frog. Do you remember that, Nick?
Yeah, it's I actually don't think I saw that one, Kev, sorry.
That was really cool. The game was very evolved back then. Mad Frog was taking hidden bases on Zelnaga caverns. Solid builds.
Oh.
Yeah. Exposed mineral lines on the hidden bases on Zelnaga caverns with Hellions killing every single drone. Now that's ancient SC2 history for you, Nick.
Back then, that's when I was still, cruising around in Gold League, man. I hadn't really committed yet. Hadn't sold my life to the StarCraft gods at that point. Well, but I feel like I missed out on a lot of great games because of that.
Oh yes, quality entertainment, that's for sure. We are loaded into game number 2 of the final best of 3 of the day. The winner of this series will advance as well to WCS Premier League round of 16. And this man on the top side of Catalina is up 1-0 in this series. He's representing Liquid. It is TLO.
And his opponent in the west position of Catalina, the Red Terran, needs to win 2 maps to keep his WCS hopes alive. He is Kelazhur.
I love how we're playing the exact same maps as we played earlier today when they went up against each other for the first time. Start on Overgrowth, second map on Catalina.
Well, this story has already taken a different turn than the first time, Kev. The question is, can Kelazhur set us back? Can he put the universe back into balance and tie the series up here?
Isn't Kelazhur just one of the most aggressive Terrans you've seen in a while? Like, he just attacks.
There's very few non-Korean Terrans that don't play like this, though. Like, most of the good Terrans we've seen. Okay, I guess I'm thinking about American Terrans now when I think about like players from this like region, or Illusion was one of them. Is like super crazy, aggressive. I feel the same way about Drunken Boy, and to a lesser extent, like QXC did crazy stuff, not necessarily this aggressive. But these wouldn't be builds that would surprise me for him to bust out.
It's definitely fun to see, though. Creates very action-packed games and gives us a lot to talk about.
We know what this game. He's going for double.
Ooh,
he's doubling up.
He's marrowing it up.
Yeah, man.
And the first Overlord is heading into the wrong direction.
And TLO this game, he's like, I don't need to go pool first. He's like, we changed the course of history already by not having a complete repeat. Let's mix it up a little bit more.
And earlier today, definitely a good point. And earlier today, TLO did open up with the spawning pool on Catalina.
Yeah, he opened up with a 15 pull on this map. He wanted to be very safe against the Reaper play.
This could get tricky. We saw it yesterday in the game between U-Thermal and Jigua. If you guys missed it, it was a pretty awesome game on Catalina.
When we got here this morning, we were watching. We were actually watching some of the IEM games with Kelazhur. I remember he was watching the Maru Live
versus
finals.
Live. That's correct.
He was inspired. The Reaper madness.
Well, the Overlord of TLO is going to spot the first Reaper leaving the base. Of course, that doesn't have to mean too much just yet, but he might be thinking about it. He's like, oh god, I hope this is not the 8, 9, 10 Reaper madness that I've seen a few too many times over the last few months. This is going to create a very interesting game as well, and just once again, this is going to be non-stop action. This is going to be a lot of aggression. The Overlord did not see that bunker going up yet, by the way. If I was this Reaper, I would run around behind the mineral line and not drag any units towards this bunker.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point. Does not want that to be seen. And of course, it's not even about that bunker being able to kill stuff. It's
about the
cutting
safety ground.
Yeah, you're cutting off the main from the natural. So moving units, especially queens between those bases, gets so
Don't
tricky.
run to the bunker yet. I think he should have tried to...
it should finish. But you're right. If he had moved there a few seconds earlier and the Lings are able to target it, it gets a bit dicey.
Yeah. Sometimes you see a bunker finish up 40 out of 40 and then it's still not completed. And you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. I don't care if there's no window in this bunker. Let me in.
That's happened to me. That's a very sad thing.
I mean, this is going to be really frustrating for TLO. This is a very, very annoying scenario to play from. He's going to lose it. Okay, already getting a couple of drones. Yesterday, Maru, or not Maru, U-Thermal. We call them Maru Thermal. That's why I'm thinking of Maru now. He did a lot of damage with the Reapers, but didn't actually get drones. I think so far Kelazhur got 2 workers already. Yeah, he did.
He's doing a pretty reasonable job with this because you just get 3 command centers behind it. TLO, unless he goes for a big Baneling counterattack, there's not too much to turn to worry about. How do those Lings get in?
I have no idea. There are 2 Zerglings in the main base of Kelazhur, but it doesn't matter too much. It's more important that this bunker stays alive.
These Lings.
And even if this bunker eventually dies, TLO has lost so much for this already.
It hasn't even started to burn yet, so he doesn't need to salvage it just yet. Picks off the Queen. Just drones. And slow Lings that are going to be out in, what, 5 seconds?
Okay, there are 6. No, they won't be slow for too much longer, though. There are 16 Lings on the way, and Speed is going to finish up in just a couple of seconds. But Kelazhur is already picking up so many of these Lings that just hatched. The reinforced. Oh, he has to get out with these Reapers, though, but he has done a tremendous amount of damage regardless.
He's done a ridiculous amount of damage with this Reaper opening. The only thing that makes me not immediately say, like, this game's pretty much over is that TLO was able to get in and pick off a few units.
I mean, that's something we were mentioning yesterday as well. Is like, should he just... Oh my god, he has like 6 drones on minerals now, Nate.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you take this much damage, there's only one thing a Zerg player can do from this position. You're not going to build more drones, because then the Terran's is going to max out much faster than you.
And not just that, like, the Reapers are still scary as well.
Yeah, the Reapers are still on the map.
But I mean, I don't even see, like, he has like no Zerglings to work with.
Yeah, this is a total desperation play. If you play Reapers like this, if you're ever like, well, I want to try this build, this is what Zergs will do to you when you mess them up like this. Because these Reapers, they know that they're going to come back. They know that if they try to play slow, they're just going to be behind for a very long time.
Kelazhur is going to be surprised by this, though, because he's like, where are
all of his Reapers are across the map.
Where are the Zerglings now?
The door is there for TLO to potentially open.
Yeah.
The thing is, he needs more Banelings than that.
And not just the Banelings, he needs Zerglings as well. Like right now, the amount of SUVs that are in the main base can probably kill the remaining Zerglings. Okay, one Reaper is going to find the Zerglings, and I think now Kelazhur is aware of the fact that, alright, he is going to try... don't
those
move.
Reapers getting caught a bit tricky. Of course, they are slippery as snakes.
Well, he's losing quite a few, though, Nate.
Yeah, 2 of them do get nabbed on the way out, and now here
should
comes the
try
Banelings.
to snipe a Baneling before it blows up.
Yeah, that would have could have potentially stopped him from getting the final blow. But look at this choke point he's put himself into, these Marines. Like, if these Lings approach, they're never going to get us around in this army.
Nope, he's going to just rebuild the wall. He's going to try to get us around up,
Kelazhur's got this. I don't see TLO sticking around too much longer. GG is called, and Kelazhur ties the series up. Says, okay, well, last time it's like I couldn't take overgrowth. Let's just do what we did before in Catalina. Just double up.
Man, it's been such a cool day of WCS. I think a lot of surprises all around. You know, Jim putting up a phenomenal fight against Polt, something we didn't expect with his history in PvT. Then Kelazhur taking the first series of the day against TLO. Kelazhur taking a map of Polt. And now this coming down as well to the final game of the day. Game 3, we're going to go all the way.
Those Reapers, man. When you have 4 Reapers in a bunker, it's like those little pistols, yeah, they don't kill queens super fast. But when you have enough of them, It's still very, very strong. And
I mean, this bunker going up, this is why we made such a big fuss out of it. This is actually an extremely important bunker, and it just, like, when he started building it, the Overlord was like an inch away from seeing it. He was so damn close to seeing it. And if he would have seen it immediately, then he could have done
if you stop the bunker, it's a totally different game.
Yeah. I mean, it's still annoying to play against this, but,
yeah, but you shouldn't just die. You shouldn't just die, because he spent all of his Zergling. Normally, the Zergling just buys time for the Queens to hurt the Reapers, but in this case, the Zergling just died trying and failing to kill a bunker.
Yep. I think Kelazhur is a little nervous, shaking a little. What is map number 3? Do we know it?
Expedition Lost.
Ah, that's the same as earlier today as well. So the map that we didn't get to see earlier today because Kelazhur was able to take the series 2-0 is now going to be our final game of the day.
What I find most interesting as we start off, Premier, and we get these matches going, we're in the second group of all of WCS Premier for Season 1, is which maps the players are going to choose that aren't from previous seasons. Because, you've got Overgrowth, which, as we said, has basically been around forever. It's the most figured out map, and people are going to play on it because they have experience on it. Catalina wasn't a favorite. It was often vetoed in previous seasons, but people still have more experience on it, so it's sticking around.
Like the way that a lot of pro gamers look at maps, they're like, well, I wasn't a fan of that map, but I'd rather play on a map that's difficult for me, that I know very well, than play on a map that I don't know at all, even though it might be slightly better for my race, which we just, haven't really established yet of the new map pool.
We haven't seen Secret Springs yet. I feel like that's a map.
I think it's going to stay like that until the final, Nate.
Well,
it's like best of 7 all the way, Secret Spring. The audience will go wild.
And it just ends up being another Bomber Pig baby. You get the Tempests. Get the Tempests out on Secret Springs. Break down the rocks. He can't chase you down.
I think it's going to be very difficult.
Actually sounds pretty awesome.
It does sound awesome, but I think it's going to be difficult for Pig Baby to make it into the final game of this season. Eh?
Yeah, well.
You would have to suddenly...
I mean, neither of those players are going to make it into the finals of WCS this season.
Well, we did make it to the round of 32 of GSL, though. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't have the best performance in that group, but still great to watch. Alrighty, we are pretty much good to go. Once again, make sure to join the conversation, hashtag WCS, let us know what you thought about the games today. Let us know if this man has stolen your heart so far, your Terran heart, or maybe just your random heart. Or maybe you're even cheating on your natural race and you'll be like, I do love that Terran.
Hey man.
Don't tell my Protoss brothers. I kind of like it.
Dare I tell you the sad story about TLO is my favorite player and I picked Terran because of him. And then he race switched on me. Man, he left me cold in the dark.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's you better believe that's true. I was telling you the other day, the first actual build I ever learned in StarCraft was
what's the 1-1-1?
Yeah, just the 6 racks.
Oh, the 6 racks, you said, yes.
Yeah, it was great.
It's all right, Nate. You turned out to be a well-educated Terran. I wouldn't want you any other way. In my eyes, you're perfect.
Aw, thanks, Kev.
Over here on the left bottom side, no, right top side of the map, we are looking at the blue base of our Zerg player representing Team Liquid. It is TLO.
And in the bottom left position, the red Terran player from Brazil, he is Kelazhur.
It's, no matter what happens in game number 3, this has been a breakthrough performance for Kelazhur. A lot of the North Americans knew him from ladder, and after he trioed Cats, he definitely had some people talking about him. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool. But then, there's always people like, it's just a single series, or it's WCS Latin America. It doesn't mean it's not the same thing. But this is the big stage. This is WCS Premier League. With people coming from all regions. We had a Chinese player today, we had a Korean American. Bolt is pretty much ours by now, but initially he still started off in Korea, and then we had TLO the European. It's just awesome to see all these players coming together and duking it out in a very, very entertaining WCS group.
And this has been a really, really good start to the season. Yeah, yesterday's game's pretty good. Today's game's, I think, even better. Much closer series overall.
And of course, not to mention that in just a few days, the action will continue over there in Europe, where they will have 2 groups being played as well in the upcoming days. That's going to be a ridiculous amount of fun.
Yeah, man. If you like players, like Naniwa,
Is he playing this week, or is it the...
I mean, the 4 groups that the Europeans are doing are relatively close to each other. One's at like the end of the week, and the other one's at the start of the next. But yeah, like players like Naniwa. If you're an American, you're like, well, why would I? Who do I root for in Europe? We got American player like Puck competing next week as well over in Europe. Definitely worth tuning into and checking out all the goodness going on in WCS worldwide.
Yep. It's going to be awesome. Of course, we still got amazing players coming to Southern California as well in 2 weeks from now on. Players like Hydra, for instance. I think one of the absolute favorites.
Just so much good StarCraft, Kev. I can't get enough.
It's going to be a lot of fun, but for now, this will be the end of our little 2-day session. Kelazhur once again scouts with the SCV. TLO went hedge first. It was again, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, considering that TLO has opened up with you know, a reasonable variety of builds and showing that he's not afraid to go pool first, and also send a few lings across the map, I think SCV scouting is a very fair move from Kelazhur.
Here we go again with the little Reaper tricks.
Yeah, the thing is, like, this time around, it's like, am I going to do the same thing? Is he doing the same thing he did before? It's like, I'm not sure. Am I going to just start a spine? Well, he doesn't have another Reaper. He's going straight for that reactor. And this is more like, I want you to think I'm doing what I just did, but I'm not actually doing it at all.
Yeah, but on Overgrowth, of course, this kind of played out the same way as Overgrowth did. I wonder if TLO is going to cancel the spine. I think later on he realized he didn't really need to keep that spine alive.
I mean, there's actually just these links, so if he clears these out, then he might want to live, like, if he kills the SCV, I think he'll just cancel it immediately.
Ooh.
Yeah, so he should cancel the spine crawler now. He's not going to need it. There's no other SCV coming across the map. If he finishes this, then he's truly paranoid. He's truly paranoid if he finishes that spine crawler.
I think he's going to let it finish, Nate.
Huh. Well, you know, that's a big victory for Kelazhur, because if he's going to get aggressive, it's not going to be for a little while longer. He's switched to that quick reactor so he can get more Marines out, and you could say that this lends itself to opening the door for a Hellbat push, but at the same time, you're probably going to have, you could go for something with Medivacs and just bypass all of this.
What is TLO doing with all this gas? He still hasn't started circling speed. And he hasn't started a layer yet either.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
He has over 230 gas.
Yeah, it seems like he was trying to get a good look at what was going on with his overloading. He saw
He's
the
got supply blocks as well, because he just started. Wow, he's going to start a
straight
layer.
for the layer. Maybe it's a bit of nerves on TLO's part here.
Well, maybe that's why he let the spine crawler finish as well. And that he was just like, but
maybe he really wasn't sure if it was just going to be another like double barracks play with Reapers.
But there was still a much more efficient way to end up where he currently is.
Yeah, to say the least.
But
Kelazhur is going to take his second gas now as he moves into his starport. And Hellions on the way out. Zergling speed starting up, so it's not going to be straight into the roaches like he did last time, although he could if he wants to.
That Reaper got a nice amount of Zergling kills early on as well. We're looking at 34 drones right now from TLO, of course, because he's only on 2 bases, and he does have that spine crawler. It does allow him to draw up freely. And after the initial links, he didn't really make anything else. Kelazhur is stuck at 23 SCVs, and he doesn't have a third command center going on the way this time. So the follow-up aggression for Kelazhur definitely needs to achieve something, Nate. Because even though, yes, TLO is only on 2 bases, well, he's massively ahead on 2 bases because of the current worker advantage that he has.
Yeah, that is true. He's going to go straight up to Aspire, and this is generally the standard way across the board to open up in Zerg versus Terran. If you can survive, you know, potential Hellion run-bys and such. And that could be, actually, now that I think about it, if he was intending to go 2-base Spire from the beginning, then that Spine Crawler really isn't the worst investment ever, because you generally get one anyway. And in that being said, usually when you scout the Spine Crawler, you think it's 2-base Muna because that's the only time you build it, but now he's like, well, he started it earlier on, so maybe he just had it left over. The
armory is about to finish up. We're looking at 4 Hellions over here. There is a medevac with a bunch of Marines as well. This is kind of like the same thing as we saw on Overgrowth, but back then he was doing it with 2 Marines. He was still extremely successful with, though. This time we're looking at 6 Hellions that can morph into Hellbats.
Yeah, 6 Banelings are on the way, though, and this is going to be his key to defending against this push, as there is some creep
Kelazhur
here,
has
too.
no idea about that, by the way. This is the first time he's going to see the Baneling nest, and of course the Banelings as well. He's going to see the Spine Crawler. For a second it looked like he had 2, but that was his repositioning. Here come those slow Banelings, though. How's TLO going to use them?
Well, he's getting ready to move them in. The Spine Crawler gets taken down, and Kelazhur being very patient with engaging this. The Banelings will run through, but a pretty decent split. And as long as you have a couple of Hellbats alive, like 2 Hellbats mixed into this army, he's going to pepper through Zerglings with no trouble at all. If he can focus on these Banelings, that'd be doubly good, but he instead just takes the hit. Yeah, they both detonate on that Hellbat, not really doing too much at all.
He still has these 4 Hellbats alive. The medevac has been working
the drone's
OT.
Getting hit too. Kelazhur taking out the last Baneling that was in production. Now there are 5 Mutas coming in. There are only 3 Marines with this army at the moment, but he's still getting a tremendous amount of damage done.
That Queen is going to fall as well. 4 drones is not crazy, though, but of course TLO right now is just scrapping his units together. He's not mining off his natural anymore, so he's taking a lot of economic damage, direct and indirect. In the end, he should be fine. If these 2 Hellions for Kelazhur can still get something done, that would be very nice. But other than that, I think this could have been a lot worse for TLO, Nate.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you there. I was expecting him to get a couple more drone kills when he got those big hits moving over, but he does have spores on the way now. That Banshee is getting ready to move in. He doesn't have Cloak, though, so the Mutas shouldn't have any difficulty getting in. Actually, these Hellions...
But the Mutas will probably march across the map, though, and all the Queens got picked off as well. I think this Banshee should be able to get like 4 or 5 kills over here.
Yeah, it could put itself in a nice spot. The whole purpose of this is to buy
turrets.
time, but he doesn't have turrets yet.
Yeah,
He doesn't
the
have that
turrets
many
are late.
Marines. I think TLO could just kill Kelazhur right here if he were to get aggressive enough.
There are 2 Vikings in production as well. Do you think
Yeah, he moved to the reactor. Okay, good point out.
Oh, the Banshee died against the Spore Crawler? Okay, well, that's definitely a bad scenario.
Yeah, that's this is getting really ugly. So the Ling's getting whipped at Mutas, and the Vikings, you know, in this low numbers, are going to have a really, really rough time with it. SCV's trying to repair, but it gets picked off. Very tricky position to be in, as he was able to force the liftoff on the natural.
TLO is still just producing units, though. He's going to work on the reactor instead, and now Zerglings will be able to stream into the main base again. They're going to try to pick up as many Marines as he can. TLO is doing all of this of 35 drones.
Turret by the ramp,
Yeah,
very important. You're right, he hasn't produced any more drones. Kelazhur's taken some damage, yes, but economically speaking, if he can get his natural like in the next 2 minutes, which is going to be pretty hard to do since TLO is still pumping out forces, makes it really difficult. Now TLO starts his evolution chambers. Now he's starting to get a couple more drones out. He's done what he's needed to do.
He's still morphing 8 Banelings, though, and he's going to roll them up that...
well, he's going to supply block Kelazhur into oblivion is what he's going to do.
Because he's already supply blocked. He's rebuilding 2 new...
Good luck building units now, bro.
Stim is 70% done.
The Muta's coming in from the back now, just looking for everything they can get. SCV here, maybe perhaps an add-on there.
I'm afraid that Kelazhur is definitely going to be bleeding over the next few minutes. Here come those 8 Banelings, and here comes the supply block.
Man, that's not a fun place to be. No. So he doesn't have any depots in production. He's going to have to use a call down on one of his depots, or he just doesn't build any units for the next 35 seconds.
Still just waiting for Stim to finish up. We'll finally be ready in a couple of seconds, but he also lost the only medevac he had. The Mulus picked it up and it was on his way home. So TLO definitely getting money worth for his investment. Going up to 3 bases behind this, still being extremely
just
annoying with
preventing
these
him from
Mulus.
building this wall, forcing cancellations, killing SCV. It's like, well, I can't go to the missile turrets, so I'll just kill workers that come out here and try to build depots. Now TLO's getting his 3rd base.
If Kelazhur would have just had that 1 turret near the ramp where he was building that bunker a few seconds quicker, this would have been a completely different game.
Yeah. It's
the
really
turret's
wild.
5 seconds quicker, and we're looking at a completely different SC2
When you
game.
have to rely on Vikings to secure your natural expansion against a Zerg,
something went wrong.
You say those words out loud, and you ask yourself, is this real life? As he picks off this reactor again, really nice control by TLO, just punishing every little step that Kelazhur makes.
And he definitely had to do this much with these Milius as well, because he produced so many units of this 35 drone economy that he had.
Yeah, Kelazhur didn't kill a crazy number of drones, but he prevented any new ones from being made, and he was even on workers. Now it's 38 to 46, and mind you, 38 workers doesn't really matter when you're on 1 base.
Okay, there is no ramp up here at all. These Marines are so close to spotting these Banelings, but they don't see it just yet. Of course, Baneling speed is not ready yet, so Kelazhur should be able to split his units. The Milius will see that all of these Marines are extremely clumped
rocks
up.
Too. He's like, yeah, keep moving around. Let me jump into your natural. These SCVs are exposed. Banelings are going to run into the mineral line.
Really sick play.
Run, gets a few, but at the very least, he's not mining.
Awesome play over here by TLO. He's really distracting Kelazhur, forcing him to look left and right, and then he also swinging with the Banelings in the natural. This is awesome by TLO. He's doing this really well, but he still has to be careful, because there's a lot of DPS in this Terran army, and these Banelings don't have speed yet. He has quite a bit of creep threat on the other side of the map.
Yeah, I don't think Kelazhur can push him. Kelazhur really needs to... his goal right now needs to be grind it out. It's going to be a very, very difficult game for him to recover from, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do it, man. It's going to be really difficult.
What's the deal with +1 vehicle plating?
Mines, Medevacs, Hellbats, and Vikings. A little bit harder to kill. Okay. It's pretty common for TVZ. I'm just surprised that he's getting it now. I'd rather him have a 2nd engineering bay personally.
I think he had 2 E-bays, didn't he? Yeah, he has 2 E-bays.
Oh, he's just only using 1.
I mean, he has 20 SCVs left.
Yeah, he's broke right there. There's that as well.
TLO managed to get up to a massive worker advantage during all this, and I really love how he did it. This wasn't like one big blow to the economy. Like, no, there's a few SCVs here, a few SCVs there, then more than a handful over there. He's just been non-stop annoying with these Milius, with Zerglings, with Banelings. Awesome play by TLO.
Yeah, and Kelazhur, he cannot leave his base with all these Mutas swooping around. He has an Overlord blocking one of the bases he could potentially take with creep. He's taking his 4th base. He feels super, super comfortable. And it's like, yeah, it's a 16-minute mark. But with the way this game has started, that's still a pretty ambitious 4th base, all things considered. Kelazhur is still just on 2.
Yep, TLO is, I mean, the ramp is wide open as well, so Zerglings can counterattack all day, every day, and TLO knows every single SCV he kills is an SCV that will most likely not be brought back to life, because Kelazhur does not have a 3rd command center. He does not have a 25-minute game plan over here. The game plan is pretty much try to win win with this push or with the reinforcements of this push. But with the amount of Zerglings we have on the map, with 20 Banelings currently morphing, it's very unlikely that Kelazhur is going to be able to do it. But we've seen crazier things. Army supply, it is relatively close. 63 against 67.
The biggest issue here, when you look at what makes a Terran comeback viable, is 99% of the time there's a third command center involved at some point. And when you're on just 2 orbitals, you don't have that.
Maybe the rocks. Maybe the rocks.
Try to cut the Banelings off. A lot of them didn't on the Hellbats, but there's just too much with the creep there for these Marines, and that's pretty much. Kelazhur has nothing else. Is a handful of units, but I think TLO could just march across the map, knock that natural down, and yeah, there's not really any money left in the main base for Kelazhur to try to mount some sort of comeback effort with anyway.
No money anymore, and barely any units, and barely any SCVs as well. This missile turret is going to get picked off. We still have a few Banelings rolling around over here as well, and those are the last Marines of Kelazhur. He put up a fantastic show today, but in the end, the experienced German player TLO will be able to dance all day in the main base of Kelazhur and will secure his spot into WCS Premier League round of 16 after a very, very entertaining day of StarCraft II.
Now, very well-mannered ending for Kelazhur as TLO advances on. And, yeah, he managed to, after dropping the first series against our Brazilian Terran at the start of the day, coming back and, you know, making some nice adjustments, dealing very well with Kelazhur's strategies.
Yeah, it was just both series between these two players, I think, were very entertaining. The first one, Kelazhur perhaps catching TLO off guard once or twice. In the second series, well, we saw pretty much everything. We saw Mutalisk idling above production facilities for like a solid 2 minutes. We saw Reaper madness, like we've seen it before. And that last game, also a very hectic game. You know, TLO pumping out so many units. Just, all right, I just hope my opponent does not stabilize. If I can kill those turrets, if I can keep streaming units in.
Really made the most of his opportunity to counterattack based on everything else that had happened, and it was really tricky because Kelazhur had some really good control. Those Banelings, generally speaking, shut down pushes like that really easily, and dare I say that might have even worked out better in his favor, because if he wasn't focused on microing so much, he might have thrown on a scan and seen the Spire faster, gotten his turrets faster, but
and I mean,
really
like,
well done by TLO.
If those turrets were a little bit quicker and he's able to defend the initial wall, you know, where the bunker was going up, or even if he's just able to buy time there, you know, if the Mutalisk will take a couple hits from a missile turret, then maybe it will all play out differently. But in the end, I think it was a very entertaining series. I think it was an awesome game, 3 in particular. But let's hear from the man himself, TLO, who's on the couch with Dan.
That's right, guys. I'm here with TLO, who is pretty relieved, to say the least. He let out the biggest sigh I've heard in a long time. All right, what's going through your mind throughout that entire series? It looked like you were on the edge.
I'm just grateful to be through, to be honest. So far, WCS have been like an insane anxiety train wreck for me, like from the qualifier to now. So hopefully in the round of 16 it's going to go a little bit more smooth.
Yeah, in the beginning of the day, it looked like you know, you were just taken aback by some of the aggression, or things didn't really work out in your favor. What changed between basically like 4 hours ago and now?
It's more of a mental thing. Sometimes I get in a spot where I just beat myself up, tell myself I'm shit, like I can't do anything, I never accomplish anything, I will never accomplish anything. And that kind of happened in the first series. So sometimes I have games where I just completely choke. I don't have any confidence in myself, and then luckily I could talk to some friends and people close to me, and like they managed to like talk to me like, okay, that's not really true, like you can do it. And that helped me a lot, and then from there on it went much better.
Second series looked like it was much better that time around. Still pretty close though, and overall I think it's really important to have those people supporting you in the background. And I think a lot of people were really happy too, because a lot of people came out here to see TLO win, and I think they're really happy with that. Going into the round of 16 now, is there some kind of bar where it measures success? I know people have been watching you for a long time. I even mentioned to Polt that he's been playing for about 6 years. You're around that 6-year mark too, playing since the very beginning of that. You know, is there any like personal goal that you have in WCS, or is it kind of game by game, series by series basis?
Well, the interesting thing about it is that you can set really long-term goals with WCS. So obviously, being in the top 16 in the end, that's like the ultimate goal. So I don't try to set like a single goal for a single event. As long as I perform well over the year, I'm going to be happy. It's more important to me than having that single, you know, thing happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. And did having Snoot here help you at all, too? Because I know you said that you were looking for support, but being able to have teammates around here, you know, you're not the only European. People are traveling across the world, especially because you're used to going to Cologne as opposed to here in California. Was that helpful at all for you?
Yeah, definitely. Having, you know, familiar faces is always good. Having a teammate is extremely helpful. He actually also sent me replays with his gym and Kelazhur right before he left to the airport, so definitely always good to have more. The more Team Liquid people are at an event, the stronger I feel, really.
Good guy, Snoot. Well, it looks like you guys are sticking really strong together as Zerg brethren. I guess we'll use this final platform from you to give any final shout-outs and thank yous to the fans and the community.
Yeah, I'm really happy I made it through. I think a lot of people were really disappointed of the first series and are going to be a lot happier. I also want to thank HGC, Alienware, HyperX, Razer, and Namecheap for supporting me, being here. And see you in the round of 16. I'm going to, you know, hopefully be in a stronger shape still. And, you know, best of luck to all of you.
Absolutely. The third Zerg to go through the round of 16 after the past 2 days. The second member from Team Liquid, who's looking mighty fine. And, of course, two gentlemen who's always been fine this entire weekend long. Nathaniel and Ryden will be helping us close out the show.
Thank you very much, Dan. I think it's awesome to see, you know, TLO is full of adrenaline there as well. It's like out of breath, like he just ran a marathon. And sometimes playing StarCraft does feel like that.
Yeah, when you're in a situation that intense, you can really tell because in that final game, especially, it seems like we're like a little bit of shaky things here and there. And you know, the way that he said it, it's something you can totally understand. You're up against somebody, you have a lot of people that are cheering for you, that expect you to win over the lesser known player, the lesser experienced player. And that puts a lot more pressure on you, especially when you're supposed to be the favorite.
I mean, like, I think a lot of pro gamers have been vocal about it in the past. They would rather go up against, let's say, I mean, not live, for instance, but like a Korean that's like semi-beatable than the guy from South America, for instance, you don't know much about, but you do know that he's very good. But it's like, man, the community doesn't know he's that good. This is not fair, man. Why do they all expect me to win 2-0? Like,
I love hearing that from Polt in his interview, too. He's like, I expected it to be much easier than it was. Like, he actually made me try.
I think overall today was a truly beautiful day of StarCraft and really got to show what the new WCS has to offer for you guys. 4 people that almost never go up against each other, just creating really entertaining series all around. In the end, we had Polt, the favorite of the group, advancing, but it was 2-1 victories. And TLO, despite losing the first series of the day, he came back strong and he advanced as well. So the first 2 groups are completed. Nate, looking at this overall sheet, what is the one group that you're like, can't wait?
You know, it's no secret, I'm a big fan of Puck and 4GG. I think Group E is going to be one of my absolute favorites to look forward to. Of course, everybody wants to know how well Naniwa will do in Group F, coming back to StarCraft for WCS. But yeah, Group E is like that's one I'm going to be most hyped about, I think, for now.
Yeah, I think Group C is going to be awesome already. In just a couple of days, we're going to see Bunny, Violet, Mana, and Major duke it out all the way over there in Europe. Those games, of course, will be brought to you by Kelazhur and Apollo. Group D, I think, looks really cool as well, especially if you're a Zerg fan. Kane, Targa, and Pig. I think those are 3 very strong Zergs of their respective continents. So it's really cool to see the strong North American Zerg against the strong European Zerg against the strong Zerg from Australia. And then we got Happy over there as a badass Darren. And I'm personally very excited about Group H as well, the final group that we will be doing over here, the last group to wrap up the entire group stage with 3 awesome Protoss players. We're going to see Hawk make his journey over here as well. Overall, Nate, a lot of great StarCraft to look forward to, and I think, well, what was your highlight of the last 2 days? Because I'm very happy with how the first 2 days went.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any complaints. I think what I'm most excited about was just seeing someone like Kelazhur, because he's like, a lot of these players that sometimes come up that we know are good, that maybe the community doesn't know about. I actually don't really know anything about Kelazhur when he came into this. There wasn't too much to look at aside from his Latin American games, and I was pleasantly surprised. He's someone that I want to see competing and playing more, and I'm looking forward to following him on his journey through WCS this year.
I definitely think he has, like I said before, stole some hearts, or created a couple of fans, and at least a lot of people are going to take, or going to be on the lookout for him. It's be like, well, let's see where Kelazhur goes. Of course, Season 2 will be happening as well, and there's a good chance we'll see more of this awesome Brazilian Terran player that is living in the US right now, so maybe we'll see him in a few more qualifiers as well. Overall, Nate, I had a blast these 2 days. I can't wait for the European groups to kick off. So that's going to be it for us. But the final words, as always, will go to Dan, the man, Frodan.
Thank you so much, guys. We've had a wonderful 2 days of StarCraft, and after 8 players have duked it out, only 4 will be going to the round of 16. but we're just getting started. If you enjoyed this a lot, make sure to hashtag WCS, send thank yous to Gigabyte, as well as Ben Q for putting this event on. In the meantime, Tuesday, February 19th will be the next broadcast at 6 p.m. Central European Time. You can check out all the information at StarCraft2.com/WCS. We've had a good time here over the Valentine's Day weekend. Hope you guys have been able to find that other half of your Archon, whether you're appropriating, expressing it through sharing armed locked cookies on stream in front of tens and thousands of fans, or just telling them you want a ladder date. Perfectly fine by me. I don't want to tell you how to live your life. We're done here from the ESO production crew, Frodan, Nathanius, Rotterdam, everyone here in Burbank, California. Have a good night, and we'll see you guys next time.